Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video, I like to discuss something Kemi Badenoch brought up in her speech yesterday, because I think I might have finally twigged her strategy. So you know how the Lib Dems' Ed Davey had to keep throwing himself at water during the general election, because it was the only way the media would even report on him. Maybe Badenoch's trying the same ideas, but she's not into bungee jumping or E. coli, so she's trying to attract media attention by saying mad stuff. Her latest is to say that if the Conservative Party collapses, it would be the end of Western civilization altogether. I mean, I've heard of the law of unintended consequences, but this one seems a bit of a stretch. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button so you stay notified. So yeah, I see it all now. Saying she doesn't do gaffes, then committing loads of gaffes. Claiming that sandwiches aren't real, or that you're a wimp if you eat anything other than a steak for lunch. And now saying that Western civilization itself is at stake if a right-wing party on a wet and windy sheep-infested island off the northern coast of Europe were to have another bad election. Yeah, I can see it all now. She's not really as insane as Liz Truss. She's just pretending because the Conservatives are now so irrelevant in the eyes of the public that she has to feed the news clickbait in order to get mentioned at all. She saw Boris Johnson achieve success by just talking absolute claptrap and wants to emulate the strategy. Or maybe she is just as mad as Liz Truss, but at least not in a position to blow a hole in pension funds with her lunacy. Because no matter your political views, you have to agree that suggesting that a single political party in a single country losing another election will bring down the dominant culture in countries populated by about 1 billion people worldwide, that is a hell of a thing to say. And it could be a strategy, I guess. The Conservatives are seen as irrelevant for the foreseeable future. Key voters are not seriously considering giving them any real thought in terms of forming the government after the next election right now. And unlike the last time this happened to them, there is another party on the right which can claim to be at least as credible an option for those votes. Right now, you'd say more so because they are much further ahead of the Conservatives in the polls, and actually nowadays in polls even a little bit ahead of Labour. So is Badenoch into Ed Davey territory? Having to think about what to say or do which will attract headlines to raise her public profile because she cannot rely on automatic news coverage just because she's officially the alternative to the current Prime Minister? Or is she not thinking about headlines at all? After all, there have been reports of Tories off the record complaining that Badenoch isn't interested in doing the media work. So maybe she's not bothered about news coverage either, and she's making this claim because she just wants to make the claim. So how does she go from the Conservative Party in a single Western country doing badly in elections to the complete collapse of Western civilization? Good question. She was attending an international conservative conference. It's essentially one focused on shilling for the oil industry from what I can gather. Their big unifying factor seems to be anti-clean energy. So she began with this quote. Or we will begin with this part of her quote anyway. She didn't open up with it. If we throw this opportunity away because of anger or self-doubt or weakness, our country and all of Western civilization will be lost. Not could be lost, will be lost. So just in case you think I'm engaging in hyperbole here, no, she actually said that the Conservative Party not winning power would collapse the West entirely. She went on to say, we, the next generation of Conservatives, must lead the world back from the precipice. It is time to speak the truth. Oh, don't worry, by the way, the truth was the last thing she had on her mind during most of the speech. Instead, from what I could put up with listening to, it seemed like a bit of an incoherent mess. She talks about how Liberals had hacked them, which is unfortunate phrasing, as she literally admitted to hacking the account of a Liberal MP some years ago. She then said the rule of law is what builds so much of the West. Like, oh, look, some of that truth. Unfortunately, a truth which doesn't sit easily with her excessive support for Donald Trump, who is trying to single-handedly destroy the rules-based order. So don't expect her to develop this point too much. But I am interested in this idea about how you go from the Conservative Party doing badly in elections to Western civilization itself, from Canada to Australia, collapsing. I mean, I get how you'd think your party losing elections is very bad for the country. I think I have plenty of evidence to demonstrate how Labour losing 4 general elections in a row between 2010 and 2019 was pretty disastrous for the UK. So I get that. If your perspective is very, very different to mine, you may think the same about the Conservatives losing elections, even though I think you probably have less evidence for that. But the whole of Western civilization? I mean, to think that, you have to believe two things at once. The first is that the major Western powers right now are all getting things badly wrong all at the same time. You would definitely have to think that the dominant Western power is getting things badly wrong. Well, the dominant Western power is Donald Trump, which means she's heavily implying that Trump is making a proper arse of things, despite her usual rhetoric where the US president is concerned. Second, you'd have to believe that the UK has the ability, albeit needing the right leadership, to knock heads together and get these major Western powers to follow our lead. So how would we do that? She didn't say. But there's also something else in this statement, which I'm not seeing being discussed really. I mean, obviously, she says that the fate of the entire Western world is tied to the fortunes of the Conservative Party. You're going to focus on that. That's where most of your ridicule is going to be. That's understood. It's obvious. But the fact that she's even saying that there would be serious consequences for the collapse of the Conservative Party means she's acknowledging that the collapse of the Conservative Party is a credible possibility. Doesn't that just play into Nigel Farage's hands? And what was that about Badenoch warning about falling prey to self-doubt? I mean, never mind the bit about Western civilization. That's just mad shit, because either she's mad or she's doing it deliberately to get into the news. What she was talking about, this is like a big speech in London. She's talking about the collapse of the Conservative Party. Isn't that the sort of thing you'd expect the Labour leader to be talking about? She wrote and delivered a big keynote speech at an international Conservative conference where she chose to put the emphasis on the credible risk that she could lead her party to destruction. The rest is just window dressing. She was pleading with others not to let her party die, whilst at the same time trying to argue she was best placed to lead Conservatives globally. A massive contradictions, trying to argue that you should lead from a position of weakness. So why was she talking about the risk of repeated electoral failures at all? Is she feeling the pressure already? But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.